So we're going to talk about flooring for our RV renovation and kind of what we chose and what the challenges we faced, what we learned about putting in new flooring. Tell me, how would you describe the color of the carpet originally that was here?
80s green. It was not pretty. And then it was piled with dust and dirt from 10 years of use.
It was ready to switch. It was ready to go. And I would say that was actually the funnest part of pulling up the carpet. That was the fun part of the renovation.
Rip this part up. You ready? Here we go. Ugh. Yeah. Work it. Whoa, Jax, look at you go.
We had seen a whole bunch of videos online of other people that had done this type of flooring, and we were really excited to get it. The type that we got was this Mastercraft or Master Flooring. I can't remember what the brand was. So the type of flooring that we decided to go with was not a peel and stick, but it did have adhesive on around the edges of it. And so it would fit together as you put it down, and that's what would hold it in place. So it's not glued to the ground, it's not nailed into the floor. It very much is there, and we could pull it up if we wanted to, but it's been fine.
And one of the reasons we went with this is because it's more flexible. Because if it's stuck just on the edges and the cars or the RVs driving, it's flexible enough to move with it. And
like we've said in many of our other videos, nothing is square in an RV, and the floor is definitely not flat all the way through. I mean, it bumps up and comes down, and there's bolts that you can't get around in some cases.
Yeah.
So the way that it goes together is you lay down a piece. In some cases, you have to cut off the adhesive if you want to get it flush up against a wall or something like that. And as you lay one piece, you then lay the other piece in, and they just kind of fit together in their grooves. And once the adhesive comes together, it's very difficult to pull those apart. We had to do it a couple of times, but you basically want to make sure it's in the right location. And as you put it in, you kind of push it in place as you put it down.
Yeah, it kind of has to be on an angle, and then you lock it into the next one and lay it flat.
The other thing is when you get it into different areas, you will have to cut it to fit different circumstances, corners, edges. And so there's two ways you can cut it. One, you can put on a table saw and cut it, or two, you can use an X-Acto knife or a blade and cut it. However, you do want to have something underneath it in case your blade goes through or it goes too far. I had to learn that the hard way. When you're cutting it with a straight edge, it's hard to keep that right along the edge. And we tried putting up like other pieces to go along. It's hard when you're doing a long edge to keep that exactly straight. And so that's when we would take it out and do it on the saw, on the table saw. And that was a little bit easier to keep straight. If you are able to do a straight blade, you don't have to cut all the way through it when you're doing it. Instead, score it with that straight edge, and then you can actually easily break it.
Yeah.
And that works really well if you can get a nice straight cut with it. I got better over time where I could straight edge it and keep it straight.
Good job.
But many cases, it's better to go out and get it cut, especially when you're putting a straight edge up against a straight edge or a straight edge up against a wall where you'll notice that it's not straight. That gets to be problematic.
I think we stated too when we talked about the bunk room. We did start in the bunk room, back underneath where the bunks were going to be, so that we could get a feel of it and make sure we knew how to place it down. However, I will say I think the messiest part is up underneath the driver's seat. There's so many weird angles and edges, and I would say if everything was level, if it wasn't for the bumps and everything and the weird edges and corners, it would be a piece of cake. It was time consuming. We did use more than we thought we would have needed.
Yeah.
But overall, it was a fun project to do together.
Yeah. I did have challenges in areas of putting it in exactly around corners. I don't want to get into that too much, but again, it comes down to if you're looking for perfection, maybe hire a professional to do it. But in the end, I learned as I went and I got better at it, but there's definitely some eyesores here and there. When you're bringing your slide in and out, we tested it to make sure that it wouldn't scratch the planks that were there. However, when you're in different situations and your RV's on a different angle, we found out the hard way that it still will scratch. If you're on a little bit of a different angle and you're bringing in the slide, it may be leaning in such a way that's pushing more onto the wood. So we've had wood break. We've had, not wood, but we've had part of the flooring break and chip off. We've had it scratch. We found the hard way too. Kids bring in a rock and the rock's there and the slide then scratches it as it goes out. So in the end, we're not looking for our floor to be perfect. It's just supposed to be something that's comfortable, it's usable, easy to clean, and looks decent, and that's what it does for us. On the slide, we also chose not to put wood planking over the slide lip. Instead, Shell just spray painted it black, and I think it looks really nice and ties in well with some of the other features of black that we have in here.
Gives it a finishing look.
Well, I hope that was helpful for you. If you're thinking about doing your flooring or redoing your flooring in your RV, you ought to consider using this wood flooring, this laminate flooring. We liked it, worked really well. I think it will work well for you too.